Two Indian intelligence officers slip into Masood Azhar's Balakot camp. They come back with what matters: photos, layouts, and exact targets. February, India strikes deep across the border. No hesitation, no waiting for permission. And it wasn't sudden courage. It was a doctrine India has been building for decades. Kargil, 1999. The enemy spoke, Raw listened, India acted. Not with suspicion, but with evidence. Pakistan's generals were preparing a surprise, but someone was already inside their war room. Indian intelligence warned the Indian Air Force just in time. The result? A 13-day war, a new nation, Bangladesh. Each of these seismic events in India's modern history had one thing in common: the invisible hand of Raw and the mind that created it. India's covert world is built to be unseen. The fact that we are largely unaware of the spy world in India reflects the success of their endeavors. But some individuals are so vital to India's story that not mentioning them would mean overlooking defining moments in our national security history. He never chased headlines, yet his work changed how India protects itself. This is not a spy thriller, and it is not a full history of Raw either. It is a glimpse into the life of the man who built the foundations. And it is an absolute honor for me to tell his story. Where do you begin with a man who never wanted to be known? A man who shaped decisions without ever signing his name. Most of what he did will never be public. Some of it he ensured would stay sealed. But what we do know is enough to understand the man. Rameshwar Nath Kao, RNK. To friends, he was Ramji. To India, he was the man behind the veil. Long before secrets, long before shadows, there was Bana. A city of Ganga's morning glow, temple bells, incense, and marigolds. In the erstwhile United Provinces of British India, that attracted a lot of Kashmiri Pandits to either settle down or study there. Jawaharlal Nehru was the most well-known resident of Allahabad. There were many other Kashmiri Pandits who had migrated from Jammu and Kashmir and made Allahabad Banaras region their home. Drawn by the same hope, the Kao family made their move too. A few generations ago, the Kao family lived in the Srinagar district of Kashmir. Their story begins with a man named Pandit Khasi Ram Kao. Over generations, from Srinagar to Delhi, then Awadh to Lucknow, the family's path was marked by service and steady rise. By the late 1800s, Kao's grandfather, Pandit Kedar Nath, was a deputy collector in the British administration. His son, Dwarka Nath Kao, followed the same path. He married Khemwati Kaul of Lahore, and then in May 1918, in a colonial bungalow in Banaras cantonment, Rameshwar Nath Kao was born. But the story turned early. His father died at just age 29, and weeks later, his younger brother was born into a home already grieving. Rameshwar was 5. His mother, only 25, was suddenly a widow. In his private notes, Kao would later write, "The passing away of my father at an early age colored my entire outlook during my childhood days, which was rather cheerless and lonely." The family, now fractured, moved frequently. At 6, RNK was taken to Baroda by his uncle Rameshwar Nath Kao, who ran a small chemical factory. He studied at Baroda High School, slowly picking up Gujarati and living in a house that was always full. 3 sons, 3 daughters, and now 2 more boys. For a while, life felt normal, but stability was short-lived. When his uncle's fortunes declined, the family moved again to Unnao and then back to Banaras. In Banaras, they lived as tenants in the home of Babu Durga Prasad, whom Kao later called a Renaissance man, a patron of classical music, a sculptor, a clockmaker. The house was full of marble art and ancient timepieces. For a brief moment, the boy from a drifting household lived surrounded by craft and quiet brilliance. Kao never said what it did to him, but the impression definitely stayed. His interest in fine arts, which he picked up later in life, especially sculpting, was inspired by his short stay in Babu Durga Prasad's house. His schooling, however, was less kind. In his notes, he later reflected on those years and he wrote, he struggled with the local language. His knowledge of Gujarati was basic and the only way to communicate was in English. He was heavier than most of the boys his age, weighing nearly 60 kgs by the time he was 12, and was frequently teased for both his name and his size. The nickname Kao haunted him. Classmates called him Brown Buffalo, a sack of potatoes, and whatnot. And he withdrew into himself. He couldn't bring himself to eat in the school canteen. His mother would send a servant to buy his meals. That unease about public eating stayed with him for life. And yet, these years trained him in something else: silence. To listen more than he spoke, to watch without reacting, to notice what others missed. Later in life, he would remember that time not with bitterness, but with observation, as the beginning of an inward journey that shaped his character. A lesson in solitude, a training in restraint, and perhaps the first hint that the man who would master secrets would begin by mastering himself. When Kao looked back at the making of his life, he didn't credit one grand moment. He credited people, his mother first, for resilience. His father, though gone early, left behind an impression of order and dignity. His uncle for structure. His grandmother for stories, the kind that keep a child standing while life keeps shifting under his feet. He remembered watching his father shave by the light of a kerosene lamp. And later, as illness took over the house, he spent long evenings alone on a veranda in Lucknow, just watching people pass by. Not speaking, not asking, just watching. As the 1920s gave way to 1930s, the Kao family moved again, this time to Bombay, where his uncle joined a cement business and they settled in Santa Cruz. For a moment, it looked like life might finally stabilize, but it didn't. The new venture collapsed and things changed again. The family had to leave Bombay. Kao's mother and aunt went back to their brothers' homes. His uncle moved into a small room. Kao and his cousin spent a year living in a hostel run by the Ramakrishna Mission in Villeparle. This is where one of the most important shifts happened, quietly. At the Ramakrishna Mission hostel, Kao took up yoga to lose weight, and it became a lifelong habit. He also read Raj Yoga by Swami Vivekananda, which left a lasting impression. That book didn't just inspire him, it disciplined him. But as the family's money problems got worse, Bombay was becoming impossible. And once more, pack, leave, and start again. Kao and his cousin went back to UP and got admission in Lucknow University to continue their studies. Bombay had promised stability. Instead, it gave him something else. A habit that would stay with him for life: yoga. Back in Lucknow, Kao took up English literature, Indian history, and Persian. He developed a fascination with temple architecture and sculpture, and even tried his hand at clay modeling. And then, for the first time, he realized he had a gift for language. Teachers noticed too, praised him, and pushed him towards a master's in English at Allahabad University. One more move. There, he lived on 50 rupees a month. No cycle of his own, just walks or borrowed rides, and one English film a week. That ticket costed him 9 annas, and cinema became his secret classrooms, absorbing language from Frederick March, Greta Garbo, Robert Taylor. Amidst all this, he never lost focus on his goal, his studies and future. He would often wake up at 3 a.m. to study and prepare for competitive exams. In 1938, R.N.K. completed his master's degree in English literature, securing the first position in the university, and he won many debate competitions. In 1939, he was awarded the best speaker across the universities. The medals were hard won. 2 years before, his mother had urged him to find work. Their savings were almost gone. But Kao had chosen books over bread, a decision that somehow paid off. In 1939, with just 500 rupees of savings left, he cleared the entrance exam to join the Indian police. And with that, his real journey had only just begun. Thank you for joining us on this roller coaster of a ride that is the story of OG of Indian spies, R.N. Kao. We'll see you guys in the next episode of this journey. Till then, as always, stay manly, stay maverick.